All right, hey everybody. We're here to talk about POP. So what is POP? POP is a community of Web3 enthusiasts, builders, investors, and culture makers. We are building the future Web3 name brands. We are bridging crypto and consumer. And when we say that, we mean that there's a lot of Web2 companies and consumers that are sort of stuck and trying to bridge the gap. I think we fill that role because the membership really comprises a lot of experts from retail, from marketplaces and consumer brands. So we really know how to drive like more innovative consumer experiences. We're here to learn and develop skills for a new frontier. We're here to hunt for alpha and network and make some friends. We're here to get early access to NFT projects, and we'll be talking about some of that later in the presentation. And we're here to foster community online and offline. Here's some of the team. Ian, Jamie, husband and wife, co-founder. We've been working and building together for years, investing in businesses and running our own startups. We've got Stuart, the key artist from Pop and Randall Brand Direction. We've got Montana Wong, a developer who supports us at BFF and at CPG. And we've got Blake, who heads up all of our consulting efforts. He's running partnerships for us right now. Nate has been filling a role of community manager. We have Chris and Jessica from Mason. They wrote the smart contract that was gas optimized, and they created the front end minting experience that was really pleasant. Then we have Josh, who's our moderator, and Blackpool as well, who some of you know as Golly. So today we're going to talk about these 6 items. We're going to start off with like security and support, just some housekeeping. Then we're going to talk about culture, talk about the progress we've made, the successes, the failures, and the in-between. Then we're going to talk about the roadmap. This is the most important piece. We'll talk about what we're hiring for, and we'll talk about the use of funds. Okay, let's talk about culture, because I think this is really important to set. In these early days, we're a lot different than a lot of other projects. We need to be focused on being curious about each other right now, so we can learn each other's skill sets, figure out who each other are, and the kind of things that we could build together and how we could leverage and work and network our way to awesome products and opportunities, right? So there's a group of Genesis members that are going through the Airtable. They're working to pod people up and get them in cohorts of like-minded people. We're also here to create mentorship opportunities through those kind of pairings. And we're here to support innovation and growth. The note on how to provide feedback is, I think the idea is like, if you have a suggestion, we want you to present that in like a really thoughtful and supportive like context. So always having that kind of like collaborative mindset of like, we can grow together and we can build together, just to align with all of our core cultural values. And we did create a new suggestion subchat that is in the docs now. So if you want to join that, you can make helpful suggestions there. Okay, progress. I think we should start with the bad stuff. The first thing was a lot of friction with the Telegram because people haven't had a lot of experience with the product, but we stuck by our decision knowing that it was going to create some friction because we believe it's long-term better for retention and better for us as more of a company that needs their heads down, kind of focused and building stuff. We could have onboarded cohorts. I think that would have been a great way to handle the onboarding. So it wasn't just like constantly collab land for like the first 24 hours. We thought that would have been kind of upsetting to some people, like, oh, everyone else is getting in, but I'm not, and I bought, why can't I get in? So we made a decision not to do that. But looking back, I think that probably would have been worth the friction to do it in cohorts, so you onboard like 500 people at a time. I think the product did attract a lot of traders that didn't understand this is like a network of building and, like a company that's for like a long-term vision. And that's okay. I think that we should have probably done a better job to communicate that to people beforehand, but now that those people are here, and a lot of people in, even Genesis, and a lot of us are traders too, and at heart, and that's fine. And but I think we should do more to meet the needs of those people, and we'll be talking a little bit about how we're doing that. This is kind of like the not so good, like the mid stuff. I think the moderation is really high quality when it happens, but we just need more of it to scale because the community is super active. The docs are good, but they're not token gated. So that link could be shared, of course, like nobody can enter the chat without a token, but we are working behind the scenes to get a proper member portal that's fully token gated. So we can token gate all of our content, whether it's like audio or video or text. The comms have to improve for sure. Some buyers, didn't investigate POP, or they were looking through the website and they said, what does this mean? Because we didn't have, like a fully like laid out use of funds for like the incubator and product drops and all that stuff. And I think that is totally fair. That's why we're here today. This is the good stuff. It was a strong go-to-market campaign. There's a lot of excitement. The min out was super smooth. It was gas optimized, even though people were worried about that. People were paying like, I think the lowest cost mint was $2.92. Like, that's just crazy. And, no one's ever heard of that, but the contract is great. And that'll happen in the middle of a really bad market. So great job on the min out. The supply holder distribution is great. You just don't really see a lot of projects that have, like 2/3 of the holders have one or like only one NFT. And that's pretty exceptional. So great sign for the distribution that follows the pattern of Genesis. We have 1,500 Telegram users, and there's only 2,000 holders. So that means 75% of people have kind of made the leap over to Telegram and they've gotten over that initial hurdle. That's very strong. Obviously, like the first traction of volume was really bullish, and we have a ton of ETH in the community wallet now to fund all these great experiences and things we're building. Got a lot of great feedback on the mint experience, and Stuart's art was lovely. The most important thing is that people are like really finally kind of connecting, and we're setting culture in Telegram. I think that's important. And just recognize like the amount of messages that are going on in Telegram are like super high volume, because if you go into like a Discord that has 50,000, 80,000 users, a lot of those have far less volume or like interest from users than ours does. So really great sign from the community. It's very engaged right out the gate. All right, overview of the roadmap. We'll be talking about the development of the various chats, talking about Genius calls, the product drops, consulting, the incubator, data room, the bounties, allow list, and what's next. Okay, first, Subchat development. We already kicked off some calls with the leaders of the various chats. Those are already begun, and people are starting to connect, whether it's the devs or the creatives, and our goal is to have those happening in every single chat over time. So if like you're really strong in the parenting chat and you love that, then we would love if you would set up a regular call and just emerge as like a leader. And I think that's a great pipeline to, social authority for you. Genesis team is reviewing that Airtable to start getting you all paired up together in a strategic way. We have this cool product in Genesis where Audrey built, it's basically email digest of all the pinned content, and they go to our inboxes every day. And so we're building that out for POP too. I think that's really cool, because then it means you can just be more of a passive participant. You don't have to like be showing up in the chat every day to get value. You can just wait for your email and then make sure you didn't miss anything. And if you want to suggest a chat, I'm adding them actively. Like we'll do a NFT NYC chat. We've got a marketing chat going. There's been a bunch of great suggestions for the community, so we're going to roll those out over the coming days. Genius calls. This is super exciting. First call, Greg Eisenberg, a legend, in product design, has been doing this for many years and has all the social authority that you can imagine. He's just like a brilliant speaker, and everybody who knows Greg and loves and respects him, and just an awesome contributor to the Genesis community as well. In these calls, you can expect us to talk about not just like Web3 product design. It could be anything that represents expertise at Genesis. So for example, the one that's after Greg is going to be Harold talking about fractional buying of assets and how you can use things like Gnosis Safe or Prism to get access to investing with your friends. So like maybe you can't afford that blue chip asset, but if you have like a bunch of friends that want to go in on it together, you can do that. Harold will be teaching us how to do that. And then after that, Montana's going to be teaching us about how to read smart contracts, but we have a bunch of product drops. So, the goal is to have a lot of fun with these like kind of consumer meets crypto experiences. The thing is, everybody in the Genesis group, the talent comprises, executives of exited consumer brands, people from your Shopify's and like old school, like Web2 giants, your General Mills and stuff like that. But hype like streetwear companies and all this kind of cool stuff. So I think you'd have a lot of fun, just kind of playing and developing like some of the highest level e-com experiences. Like I think we should be able to outshine the other stuff you see on the market currently. And that means like a great token gated experience and like products that are a little bit more interesting, whether it's like a, a retro CPG branded like cassette deck or something, or like not just your regular merch, but something that's like a little bit beyond and a little bit more creative than some other projects. So. Okay, consulting. I'm super excited about consulting. We have a big announcement. Have partnered with a major player in the e-commerce space that is going to help us really scale our efforts to, not just execute on like the lead gen and the strategy, but also the back office stuff and, scale a lot more quickly. So Blake Menezes has been leading on those efforts. He's a Genesis member and the core of consulting. So if you have questions about consulting, hit up Blake. But his plan is to roll out a bunch of announcements over the next couple of weeks about that partner, sort of the first steps, who we're working with, how you can contribute as a POP member, and a Loom video about explaining the consulting process and how we got where we are today and all the kind of cool first clients that we're starting to talk to. Okay, Incubator. Thesis is that a lot of these companies and individuals have great ideas and they got to get their ideas off the ground, right? So they need some operating capital to get it started. And that's why we're here to help them build, right? This could be not just like a Web3 native project. It doesn't have to be anything that's like super crypto native. It could also be rooted in like a consumer good or product, because I think that's what we also do really well. But it could be like a low hanging fruit tech solution. It could be like a protocol or some kind of operational asset that helps other companies scale. This could be like something that we, distribute to like as a public utility. I think that would be really cool and sort of open source, like the stuff that we're building. Eligibility for these types of ideas means that like you're not a scaled company necessarily. So you already have less than $250,000 of revenue. And I think that's going to be really great to like, engage the sort of cohort that we've identified that we have here. We're hiring a head of an incubator immediately. So if you have ideas, if you're a person that has sort of Web2 experience in, venture and accelerators and, venture studios, then I think that's a great place to start, especially if you're ready to go Web3 or you already have. We'll be listing hires on the website soon, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute.
Hey, Chris,
the incubator.
I just want to jump in and clarify for that Club CPG does not take equity in these companies.
Okay, yeah. So it's basically cash to fund your startup. So we will not be taking equity. It's just going to be a great way for people to make products that top members and Genesis members can benefit from, right? So, if somebody develops a piece of software or an NFT drop, it might look like Pop gets early access to that or have like premier access to that, or, if there are rewards associated with that, maybe it's like a little bit more for Pop. So when you make your applications, those applications are going to open up on Monday for the first cohort. They are going to open up for 1 month. So don't worry about like rushing to get it in. You have plenty of time to get it in. They'll be reviewed by the Genesis steering committee at that point, and then we'll make selections about how to distribute those funds. Like I mentioned, like obviously there could be a lot of in-network kind of hiring of people or like contracting their services, linking up with founders during the fundraisers, I think is really compelling for some folks. So a lot of opportunity, to plug into the incubator, even if you're not a builder or like a founder or everything. You could be like a builder, you could just be a supporter, or you could actually potentially, benefit from the products that are built by those people. All right, let's talk about the allow list bounties and the data room. So we are launching a service called Allow List Bounties. And if you see a hot project and you identified it as being, worthy of us seeking like allow list for CPG, you can suggest that. And we will create a bounty for that. But it has to be authorized by Buzz, or it has to be authorized by Elliot Koss. And we'll be sharing a little bit of information in the chat after this about how you can approach them to get it authorized. So it means like that the Pop Genesis bounty authorizers are going to have to take a look at the project. It's not just any project. It's not something that you shilled. If you're welcome to offer that too, but just be aware of like, for filtering for quality, and just make sure that our users are only getting like quality allow list. So if you do get that like that bounty authorizer says, you have a great connection at X project, here's some materials, go ahead and approach them, loop me in on the DM, and that will get you a guaranteed allow list spot on that bounty. Okay, next thing is Data Room V1. I just want a little update on that because we've been building on the background. It's going to be announced in the coming weeks. V1 is going to be like piped in info, market data, NFT insights by Brian D. We have a API key from Mnemonic. Like, this is really important to us that we only launch if we have the highest quality data, because there's a lot of dirty data that's out there that's just like getting scrubbed from like maybe like an unclean API, or it's just unreliable, and it like, you know, differs with like the more macro data that's on the market. So Mnemonic is best in the game as far as I'm concerned, and we're going to be working to partner with them on, you know, not just the data room, but also kind of other content pieces. I'm excited about how we can leverage like CPG's authority to become a leading, you know, trusted voice in the NFT space. All right, allow list, snapshot. Okay, so we got a snapshot on Tuesday. There's going to be a free mint later next week. This pass is in beta. We can't say what it is yet, but it's already on the open market and OpenSea going for 0.2, and this is a free mint for everybody that is in Pop or Genesis. You will be able to mint it immediately. And so that's a great way to add some value right away. Gali is also posting right now in the allow list channel, an allow list for Bubble World. And that was brought to us from one of our members. Let me see if I can pull up the window. They have some incredible, you know, investors from like MoonPay to GoPuff, and, you know, celebrities and Sweet Green and Pharrell, Post Malone, and High Somebody, but it is an access pass. And the access pass gets you access to all of their mints, and they have some incredible influencers that are backing them. So look for the pre-mint and check that out. And we're really excited about their kind of retail and kind of consumer friendly integrations. Really mirrors with what we're doing, and like sort of providing access to a variety of mints across like retail and influencers and PFP projects and art collectors, and just doing like huge things. And, you know, just right out the gate, they launched like, you know, I think a week ago, and have so much hype and so much excitement around that. And I know our community has already been asking for that. We have 2 more allow lists that we're announcing tomorrow. One is for an access pass from one of my favorite communities in all of NFTs, currently approaching their access pass that you'll have the allow list minting for is already approaching 1 ETH on OpenSea. The other one, we're going to be sharing AMAs in the chat. So just think about all the things that we're already doing with the allow list and how big we can go from here. I'll just pull up my screen share with the deck again. You know, Genesis has had a lot of success with allow lists in the past. So that goes from anything from, you know, Cool Pets to BFF, WoW Galaxy, Dead Friends, Trip and Ape Tribe, you know, Zipsies, and all kinds of stuff that was like a great benefit for the members. And I think the reason is because people trust, you know, the people in Genesis and the builders and all the things that we've been able to accomplish like throughout our careers. And so that brings a lot of, you know, social credibility. And I think that is a great way for us to like get a foot in the door for Pop, to get a lot of opportunities for these allow lists too. All right, phase 3. So people are kind of keep asking things like, well, should we do another PFP or an airdrop or like a serum or a land or staking and all that kind of stuff? And it's like, we've been talking about that for like, you know, and you know, designing what all those things could look like in the past. And I think that those opportunities are really exciting. So definitely know that those are like on the table and things that we're looking at and exploring how to like best reward our community. And, you know, obviously like Pop and Genesis would be a big part of that. But right now, I just want everybody to know we're totally focused on phase 2 and developing all this stuff that we've announced above, including like the incubator and the product drops and the genius calls, and, you know, developing the data room and the subchats. So, okay, let's talk about hiring. First, hires are going to be head of incubator. They're going to be, as I said, somebody that has a little bit of a foot in Web 2, but is like bridging into Web 3, has some like traditional VC experience. So chief of staff is going to be like key hire. Obviously, they're going to be like my right-hand person. They're going to help manage all of Genesis members and Pod members and kind of create some great filtering and like distribution of information that, you know, the leadership team currently isn't equipped to do. We're going to hire a community manager. We're going to hire moderators. One thing I'm really excited about is the NFT analyst. So NFT analyst is going to pipe reports on like top projects, but also general market data and sentiment so that you can be equipped to trade, whether you're like in a bear or like going into a more bull market, and like looking not at just like, what's a cool project, what's got like X Twitter followers, but like actually what it looks like in terms of like a macro view, and comparing. So at XPFP is in sort of like a certain style, and has performed well in the past, but it had like prior dips or walls, or pumped on it, had a liquidity pump, or like on a mint, or what that looks like. So like kind of like just making like better informed decisions about what you meant that are not, beyond like just looking at something on like your Nansen or like your NFT nerds of what's been trending on the last hour and aping into it. I think that's like going to create a huge amount of value to bring an NFT analyst in. Let's make sure that everybody's muted in the chat. So, and the mods can just also mute people in the chat if you see coming off. Okay. So other roles, talking about bringing on the data lead, and partnerships and the head of audio that will help us scale like experiences both, online, offline, in your car, how you can interact with all of our content like a more, organic and on your terms kind of way. So look forward to all those jobs being posted on our website this week. Cool. So Treasury, basically, this is use of mint funds. First, we're starting with the big bucket is the Treasury is like, as we said, the future initiatives and the taxes and everything moving forward. Next most is going into the incubator. That's the 2 million that we saw. Product drops. This is going to be a core part of the company, and we want to put this in sort of like our 10% experimentation bucket. Like it's not an outsized amount, but it's something that we want to have a lot of fun with and think we can execute well on. Then we have our team salaries. That's everything that we mentioned before, from like your analyst to your, head of the incubator and chief of staff, the community manager, and the moderators and such. Then we have the agencies and contractors. That is like outsourced support for like design and execution on things like development and Webflow, and making sure that we have quality experiences across the board. Beyond that, we have a small bucket for these three things. So the incubator committee, the Genius calls to pay the speakers and the host, and then the scholarships committee. So those are the people that are doing the work to review applications and bring new people into POP. So they also deserve to be compensated. Okay, what's the long-term vision? First is, we really want to become like a go-to kind of think tank for Web2 builders that are going into Web3. So that means sort of being a trusted source of information from Web2 companies and operators and founders and artists that are just like kind of curious about this space. And so we can be like, I think a really great entry point for them, but also like provide some more elevated experiences for the more sophisticated, traders and, people that are more Web3 literate in the group at the same time, and create mentor experiences to bridge those gaps. We want to collaborate with top projects in the NFT space. We want to partner with top consumer brands, retail companies, marketplaces, stores, like your retail stores, and top like fashion brands to develop co-branded drops and CPG exclusives. And we're starting those early conversations now. The goal though, is to like every day we wake up and want to create products that people are just going to like use as like a critical means of evaluating, their experience in Web3. So whether that's like a utility like Tin Can, where you can sort of have a Yelp for a Web3, or you can, use token gated email products that were already built in CPG. I think that is like really important for us to just create these kind of like low hanging fruit and utilities. And the last thing is just, have some fun with your friends, create like, financial opportunity for each other and with each other that represents like a lot of the more human and emotional side of like NFTs, and but also like potential upside in terms of like a realized gain. So that's the vision. We're going to jump into voice chat after this and just do some Q&A, because there's like a lot of dense information, and I think we should go over it after we close here. All right, so I'll see you in Q&A.